that's a tremendous looking trophy.
Welcome to the number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. I am Dylan Blight. Joining me this week, Player 2's Paul James.
I've not been surprised as I return from a beer this time.
That's you luckily didn't make the mistake of standing up and after we synced.
I think it's only because it's you and me that I think I got away with it.
Yes. I mean, this is a first, I believe, for all of Explosion Network content where there's been 50-50, you know? Like last time he was on, I had to have Kieran protect me.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Let's be real, Kieran isn't protecting anyone, but that's fine. It's he tried.
I'm fairly sure, this is right off topic already, but I'm fairly sure I went to the Geelong Hawthorn game the other week, and I don't want to speak too much about it because we lost. But I'm fairly sure, and Kieran, confirm this on Twitter or something afterwards if you need, I'm fairly sure I saw you walking away from me because I saw a dirty, shit brown and piss yellow Hawthorn jumper walking away from me with the name Kieran written on the back, spelled exactly as his is.
Well,
can you
as
confirm?
Far as I'm aware, there's only one person that spells Kieran. He does.
So just clarify if you went to the game that day and whether you're walking over that, I don't know the name of the bridge, the one that plays the multitude of different Aboriginal tunes and stuff as you walk over it that gets really messy and you can't quite understand it because they're all singing over the top of one another.
What I want to know is if this is a true story. Why was Kieran running away from you?
No, I was stuck in the crowd and it was pissing down with rain and I wasn't going to make an effort to catch up because I had my pregnant wife walking beside me in the torrential rain. So I wasn't going to try to, especially after the loss. He can go die in a hole. Love you, mate.
Make sure to tell us why you ran away from Paul. This is a PlayStation show, not a football show, and definitely will never be a football show because
I'll keep trying.
I don't care for football. Paul, you're on the show. The first thing I want to abuse you about.
Abuse me,
now,
huh?
You should be able to guess. Where the fuck are you buying that $700 Darksiders thing?
I didn't buy it. I want to. I wish I could, but I also discovered that within 20 minutes of them being on order, eBay had already run out of stock. So,
but you tried.
No, I didn't try. No, I took a look at afterwards to see what was going on with it, and it was already gone. So,
I can't believe. Look, I'm someone who 9 times out of 10 stand up for these collector's editions. You know, I've brought a lot in my years, and usually I'm like, it's your money, do what you want, whatever.
You do you.
You do you. I read $700 fucking dollars for a collector's edition. I'm out. It better come with keys to a car at that point.
Yeah, I couldn't justify it. I wanted to be able to justify it, but even without a baby coming in the next couple of months, there's still no way I'd be prepared to spend $700, more than the price of a console, almost the price of a PS3 when it came out here, which is still a glaring indictment on the price of the PS3 when it first came out here. But no, you couldn't do that on a single game, and it doesn't matter how many statues or whatever they're throwing in there. To be fair, I think there's 4, but it's ridiculous. You can't do it. It
was the most thrown together because most of the times, you know, like all those Call of Duty ones that are $500 whatever dollars.
Yeah.
It's just straight up, it's a drone. It's a fucking drone. That's why it costs so much. That's where all the money is, because it's a drone or it's a remote control buggy or night vision goggles or one very expensive item. This was like, here's a bunch of fucking figures and a wall scroll, and like it was like the show bags of collector's editions. I can't say I was a fan.
Yeah, I actually, like, for all that I'm not a Call of Duty guy, I don't mind their collector's editions, but yeah, you couldn't. I don't know how you could justify it. You've got to be just rolling in money and looking for just any way to spend it to fork out $700 for an edition of a game that, look, I want to believe could be really good, but it's also the first entry back after all the shit that that team's been through. And they're still minus some talent. I was about to say, it's not even the same team, really. So it's about 75% the same, but there's a few key personnel that aren't there. And yeah, I want to believe the game's good, but it's still not $700 collector's edition good.
I can't. I was trying to think about it so hard. I'm so confused. $700 for Darksiders 3 collector's edition, a franchise that, mind my language, honestly barely no one fucking cares about at the moment. Look, you tell me, you point me to the internet where people are hyped about Darksiders 3.
I mean,
obviously, yeah, no, you're doing a Let's Play series.
I'm doing a long play series of the first game and maybe the second if it does well. But no, I would agree with you. It's not, especially given the time that it's coming out, like November when you've got Red Dead and Fallout and then the usuals, Assassins and COD and Battlefield and blah, 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 blah. Like and Smash is only a week or so away.
Yep.
I don't get it, the timing, and I certainly don't get $700, and it doesn't make sense. But all of this smacks of them throwing shit at a wall and hoping it sticks. You've got a $700 collector's edition, so they're going to make plenty of money on any of those that they sell, and they'll sell out because they won't make that many, but it's a massive markup. They're trying out a new release date. The first Darksiders came out in January. Darksiders 2 came out in August. Neither of those really excelled. So maybe they're hoping that if they can get in around the Black Friday, Christmas sort of period, that maybe they'll be able to snap up a few more sales. They're trying a lot of things. And even if it turns out to be successful, I don't know how they're going to be able to point the finger at that one thing and go, that was it. Let's try and do that again for Darksiders 4. It's all very strange.
It's, to me, straight away, as soon as I saw the price range, my head just jumped straight to no faith in the game, looking for ways to make money up, you know? Just searching for ways to sell stuff to make up for any kind of loss that they could have on the game. So it's like $700 collector's edition, and there's enough suckers out there, so fuck it, there you go. And sure enough, you said it sold out 24 hours, so...
No, 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
20 minutes? Holy fucking shit. Oh, you make me so sad. And this is coming from two people who brought, like the Ni no Kuni one. That was, what, 300? What no? Like, not cheap one.
Yeah,
it was like
thereabouts.
$150 or whatever.
I've got Spider-Man on order, the big fancy one too. There, and like, which we'll talk more about shortly. But yeah, we've probably spent some big dollars on collector's editions over the journey. I got the God of War one earlier this year. Horizon. I'm looking at
Horizon. Yeah.
Like I'm looking at my bloody car from Mass Effect Andromeda.
It's okay.
Like there's some ridiculous purchases that we make, but $700 is a little too ridiculous.
Yeah, I think there's a line. All right, moving on. I have Overcooked to want to talk about.
Sweet. Now, I can talk about that. I reviewed it.
You did. You've played both. Like first one and the second one, yes?
A little bit of the first one. It kind of came out at a bad time. So it wasn't the stress that this household needed back then. Whereas... Okay. There was just a lot going on, so having...
Is it the stress it needed with the now pregnant wife, or...?
It's just, I mean, yes, there's obviously stress that goes with having a baby in a month, but no, very different sort of stress, so we can actually play a game like Overcooked, and I think everyone's a bit more mellow. Specifically, I might lay the finger at myself here, I'm more mellowed out, so I don't cause conflict and tension when we play the game. In spite of how the game is really trying to egg you into abusing someone.
Yeah. Well, I do worry sometimes that it does make you... there's some secret mechanics built into it to purposely try and break up relationships and friendships.
People have absolutely gotten divorced because of this game. I have no doubt about it.
I'm only up to world 3-ish at the moment. But here's my thing. I never played the first one at all. And I'd only ever watched about 5 minutes of it. So my knowledge of I know I said Overwatch. Fuck off, Kieran. I knew Overcooked was... my knowledge of Overcooked was seeing screenshots, knowing the general premise. But other than that, I'd never sat down to watch any Let's Plays, never had a go at it, never spent too much time reading about it. I knew the general premise was you worked with someone, you chopped up stuff, whatever. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds... kind of cool, I guess. I'm sure that's it. To me, it just sounded like, yeah, I guess that's a co-op game. It wasn't until I started actually playing it that I'm like, oh, this is good. This is actually really good.
It's the balancing of the whole thing. Like I mean, we often talk about balancing and like that carrot at the end of the stick and all that sort of stuff, and they manage to place that carrot at just the right distance from you that you'll try and you'll fail a few times and you'll learn some lessons, you and whoever else is that you're playing with. And you might scream and shout at one another for 10 minutes or whatever it is, and then the penny drops and you work out that ideal way to coordinate yourselves to get such and such in the frying pan and get this here and that there, and all of a sudden the cogs start turning and all of a sudden you've 3-starred it and you're moving on.
Yeah.
And you go through the same cycle over and over that's maybe 15 minutes long all up.
Compared to most co-op games you can play these days, because there really isn't that many, not compared to, well, I suppose PS2 or earlier era. I wouldn't say there was many great PS3 generation co-op games either. And most co-op games that you look at is just, it's a third-person shooter, or it's a first-person shooter, or it's a Lego game.
Yeah.
Something. Where the gameplay-wise, you're just doing your own thing, but kind of doing it at the same time, I guess.
Yes.
There's no really tying.
Borderlands is one that fits that mold, yeah.
It's like, well, what are you doing in Borderlands? You're there together, you shoot stuff, but you don't, if you stop playing with your friend, you're still doing the same thing. It doesn't really make any difference to the gameplay. This is a game where mechanics and everything is so built into the co-opness of it, and you actually need to cooperate. You need to communicate. You need to be like, I'm doing these jobs, I'm cutting up this thing, carrying this over here. You need to be doing this over here, and carrying this thing over here, swapping it backwards and forwards. There is a degree. I haven't tried playing it. As I heard friend of Oliver's, Buddy Watson, talk about playing it on Dash Culture, he was talking about playing it just online blind, which to me sounds, no, I'm not doing that.
It's hard enough when it's people that you care about, let alone with someone that you don't.
But he talked about how after playing the same group for a while, they would just all subconsciously kind of get into their roles, which I could see people who have played a lot of the game doing, like he has, because he's a big fan of the first game. And I reckon if you jumped into a queue with someone or a bunch of people that have played a bunch of the first game, a bunch of this game, whatever, that after playing a match or two together of the same level, you'd kind of just be like, well, I've been doing this thing, I've been doing this, and you'd subconsciously just work it all out.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't work for me as someone jumping into Overcooked 2 as someone who knew fucking nothing, didn't know what was going on. If I jumped into that online match, I don't reckon I would be able to click with random players like that.
I don't know. Like, something I found when playing it, and like I said, I didn't play much of the first, and then when I played Overcooked 2...
that's getting cut out.
That's got to go.
I'm not fixing it. Someone can cut that out.
When I went to go play Overcooked 2 for the first time, that was literally on the couch for a recording of Patch. Like, we had not played at all prior to that.
Oh, really?
So it was myself with my limited Overcooked 1 experience, and then the other two who'd never played either of the games before. And I don't know, I felt like within the first 15 minutes or so, we'd gotten over that learning curve and understanding how everything's meant to work. And then I think it almost fell back to what I said before, where it's maybe 10 minutes per level of you kind of working out the hook, how it is that you best navigate your way through it, and then the cogs start turning and you get it done. And I think 10 minutes is a pretty good sort of learning curve or arc for every sort of level there. There'd be some that are harder than others, but it's more accessible, I think, once you've done that 15 to half an hour early on.
The first couple levels, I think, just three-starred first try or whatever. The game starts you out pretty easy. And then once you get up to World 2 and beyond, and I've been doing the bonus levels as I've been going, which are hard-ish, I suppose. The bonus levels are basically you can't break your combo or you won't get the score that you need to do, which requires you to... before we even did the bonus levels, I wasn't even paying attention to the thing at the top about the order you're supposed to deliver stuff. So then it was like, oh, what's a combo? Oh, you deliver stuff in order? I've just been chucking shit, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just send it off. And I'm still getting 3 stars, but in the bonus levels, you need to do that. But now I've just come to the thing where as soon as you start a new level, you don't expect to do it at all. It's like you can't go into that first time you're sitting down to play the level for the first time thinking you're going to do it. You start it up and go, yep, this is going to go terrible. this is going to go terrible, but we're going to understand what the
Yeah.
mechanics of this level and the design and everything is. And then you go back into it and be like, okay, what jobs is there? What are we doing? Because every time you get halfway through a level and some of them you're in a balloon in the fucking sky. Next second you're dropping through to the restaurant floor that's on fire everywhere. There's another one where shit halfway through just starts moving around and starts rotating, and you can start up the level and be like, oh, that's relatively simple. Look, I'm just over here, I'm over here. And next second they're like, no, fuck you, we're going to rotate the whole level around
they
and
throw it
you're,
on its
you're
head.
fucked. Yeah. I've heard that later in the game they start introducing portals and all sorts of crazy stuff, which hurts me to think about, but I'll take that on when I get there, I guess.
As a newbie, what did you think of the throwing mechanic?
I can't imagine going back to a game without the throwing mechanic now, which is
So you're not at all tempted to go and try out the original Overcooked then?
Well, I can't. Well, see, the reason I never played the first Overcooked was no online.
Oh yeah, true. Okay.
I have no one locally because I'm a lonely little boy. I have no one locally to play the game with, so I just completely ignored it.
Yep, there's no reason to go back. That makes sense.
Yeah. As soon as this one was announced, everyone was excited. I was still just like, I don't fucking care. Whatever. Yeah, I'm sure it's great fun. Whatever. Then they were like, online's going to be in it. I was like, oh, yeah, thank you. And I'm sure there were so many other people like me that were
For sure.
very similar. So I feel like if they brought out the sequel and it didn't have that online multiplayer, so many people would just be like, what's the point of the sequel? Because from all I've read from people who've played the first one as well as this one, it is Overcooked 1.5. And if they didn't add in the multiplayer, then what was the point of doing it, really?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It's just DLC level packs and a throwing mechanic. Whereas if they've released a fully fledged sequel with the multiplayer and whatever else, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can buy that. That's a worthy successor, I guess. But yeah, I'm enjoying Overcooked. I'm now on board. I can now understand, and whenever people talk about it, be like, yes, that is a game
that I've played.
I've played and understand. Because, you know, when there's really popular games and you're listening to podcasts or videos and people start talking about it, you're like, I don't fucking know what you're on about.
That word that always gets used, the bloody zeitgeist and all that sort of stuff. And,
yes. Want to be
and
part of
when
the
you're not
zeitgeist.
part of it, it's a weird space to be.
Yes. You kind of just zone out for a while sometimes when you're
Skip through the podcast.
Yeah.
That's where you hope that that they take notes of the times and you just go for it.
Yep. All right, let's move on. So one of the biggest stories of the past week was Spyro Reignited Trilogy got delayed. The game will now be releasing November 13th, 2018. Hopefully, this means that all the games will end up on the disc. Confusing sources about this one because I know IGN for a fact. IGN reached out, Jonathan Dorbush, he reached out and was like, no, they said it's not going to put both the games on the disc. And then I can't remember the YouTuber's name, but I saw another YouTuber, popular dude, Patreon, whatever else. He reached out and to a source or whatever, and he was like, oh, someone told me that, yes, they're going to put all the games on disc. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense to delay the game and not put all 3 games on disc. I'd be so annoyed.
I think that the announcement of the delay and the fact that it lines up less than a week or approximately a week post the reveal that 2 and 3 weren't on the disc and the outrage that was expressed over that, I think it's too coincidental. I'm fairly sure, look, they were working hard. They weren't going to get 2 and 3 done, so they thought, all right, well, let's just stamp 1 on the disc, get them out the door, and then 2 and 3 can rock up day 1. But when the outrage emerged, they recognised that maybe it's just worth delaying the thing regardless. I mean, the game is going to be coming out, whether it's September or November, it's going to be coming out against some serious competition with Spider-Man and Tomb Raider, and I won't quite go as far as say Dragon Quest is going to get in the way of Spyro, but like there's some big games in September through October, and then early November you've got, again, we've spoken about them already, but Red Dead, COD, you've got Fallout, you've got Darksiders, you got and Smash and all those sort of games in that October through early December period. Like there's big hitters no matter where the game goes, so it won't be about trying to find a better release date in terms of sales or any of that sort of stuff. I think it's purely down to the bit of pressure they got put under and the fact that the developer's gone, well, look, the game isn't ready.
Yeah.
And maybe Activision looking at numbers going, well, yep, it's probably not going to matter what we do, so let's move it.
Well, all reports was that it definitely wasn't finished or wasn't going to be finished in time. And then all the outrage about older games being not included in the on the disc, I'm completely with, because it's ridiculous to me to release. The people who buy physical want to be able to take it out into the middle of the fucking bush, you know, away from the internet, to someone, their friend's house or whatever, who's doesn't have the internet there.
Never heard of the internet before.
Never heard of the fucking internet they're living in. They don't know what's going on. And they want to be like, do you remember little cousin Bobby? Do you remember we used to play Spyro together? And they're like, yeah.
Ah, mate,
and
what's a PlayStation?
Put in the disc. We can only play the first game though, because you fucks don't have the internet. That's not how discs work. That's not the point of them. It completely defeats the purpose of physical media.
Yeah, I'm all for like patches and those sort of things coming to clean up the experience later if that's what's necessary. But the full product should always be on the disc, as it was initially intended. And then if they need to make improvements or whatever after because they get feedback or something doesn't work or whatever happens to be, then that's all fine. And at least when you know, if you are that person in the middle of nowhere and they don't have NBN, hell, they maybe don't even have a landline. Maybe they have to use satellite connection or whatever. Well, then the amount of data they have to download to get said update is tiny as well. Like
we're joking, but these people exist.
Oh yeah, I'm not really joking all that much. Like I've got family that live, basically in that sort of situation. They have internet. They've heard of what PlayStation is. My auntie loves PlayStation, but wouldn't have a connection that would allow her to do those sorts of things easily at all. She'd be far better off driving the 2 hours that it takes to get to my place, download it, and go back. And in that time, she'd probably be only halfway through downloading Spyro 2 when all said and done.
I had a friend in high school who his mum got like 20 gigabytes a month or something like that. You know, it was basically. Oh, this is also pre-Netflix and whatever.
Good for back in the day.
Yeah, it was just paying for it to browse Facebook or Google and whatever else. It was, what is this streaming? Like, doesn't care about YouTube videos, none of that. So what's the amount? 20 gigabytes, that's doing the job. However, he got a PS3 and then he wanted to update his PS. Like, he went nearly a year without even a system update. And we all know what PS3s are like. I don't know how that thing didn't just blow up in his house without all these updates for that thing. And then he'd get all these new games and he'd want to buy DLC for them and stuff. So several times throughout the period of time that he used to live close to me, I would just be a nice bloke and bring his PS3 up to my house, update it, download these things for him. He would give me PSN cards. I would buy the DLC he wanted, download it onto his PS3, deliver it back to him. So...
and then take one of the PSN cards, say it didn't work, and redeem the $20 on your account.
No, maybe. No, I didn't. I'm a good boy. But yeah, so I've had to deal with these weird types of scenarios, and anytime I read something, any of these scenarios like Spyro, it just makes me think of when I was doing that for someone. Going, there's someone out there that's still probably doing that sort of thing for their friends or whatever else, and all these people that exist in similar scenarios, and it's just not okay, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
To release something like
happen.
this, it is simply not okay. And Activision isn't a company known for making great or having great community relations, I suppose.
I mean, no, you're absolutely right. The one thing that's kind of been bouncing around in my head with this whole situation is that the majority of the people who are complaining, and I won't say all, but the majority of the people who are complaining are those that actually are probably going to download the game, that have already adopted, I'm going all digital, blah, 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 blah. So it's interesting seeing them kind of get on the high horse for the little guy, for want of a better phrase, the one that doesn't have their awesome connection or whatever. Like, it's certainly blown perhaps a little bit out of proportion because of those people who want us to stand up and rant and rave because it's something that we can complain about. But they're not wrong,
outrage. Though. Yeah, I'm all for outrage when it's things like this, but there is a way to do it right. And when something like this happens and you're the person on Twitter tweeting, fuck you, Activision, I hope you fucking die, your CEO sucks, you know, this sort of stuff, it's okay. You're not really helping the situation. But when something like this does happen, you should speak out. And I'm not like speak with your wallet, because even if this did go through and you had to download the other two games, I'm not saying you shouldn't have brought the game because they fucked the little guy. No, still buy the game. What are you going to do? Buy what you want to do. You want to enjoy the game. You want to support Toys for Bob, whatever. You have to support Activision at the same time. Sometimes you have to support companies that suck to support developers you like.
Yeah.
It's the games industry. It's how it works a lot of the time, unfortunately. However, when shit like this does happen, do tweet at Activision and whatever. Be like, hey, this is not okay. The code, be political about it to a degree. But this is one of those times where people were outspoken enough to make a change, I believe, which is good. So.
Yeah, they'll never own up to the fact that might be the case, but I am inclined to think that it is the response that's prompted the delay.
Yep, I would agree. All right, we teased about it before. Spider-Man's Collector's Edition. So this comes from Press Start. They had a story up, bunch of tweets from Insomniac's community manager James Stevenson, who answers some questions about the statue that will be coming with the game. Now, the statue was originally revealed months and months ago. Did you pre-order it straight away like I did? Just jump straight on that sucker?
Yeah, day one, because I knew it wasn't going to last, and it wasn't $700.
Yes. It's an interesting pre-order, and I'm not complaining because I've done it also, but it is interesting to pre-order something that you don't know what it is.
To an extent. Like, we know Spider-Man standing on something, but yeah, they would.
Yes.
It's actually a weird sort of messaging thing. So, like, what we're leading towards here is the fact that they won't reveal what the majority of the statue is.
Yes.
But, and look, I love Shannon. I'm going to give him a little clip here. They said this months ago that they weren't going to show off the entire statue because of spoilers. But, it's like, I'm thinking E3 sort of window. I think they came out and said
I remember them saying that they weren't going to show it off, and I remember thinking, okay, but surely sometime before release. I remember seeing
I did kind of think they might backflip at some stage, because it is weird marketing-wise. Yes,
I agree. And this story just straight up confirmed for me, because the person who's tweeting at Stevenson just straight up and says the statue will not be revealed before release, and then says people playing the game should not look at it until after they beat the game. So this was just 100% confirmation for me. Oh, they're actually just not going to show something they want people to buy. That's the weird marketing thing. They give us the money, we will literally not show you what it is until you buy. It is a mystery bag collector's edition.
What I'd be really interested to see, and it's too late because they've already sold out of these orders, is the numbers. Like, I mean, I'm not going to say it's a strategy, because they're doing it to protect the fan and make sure that it's not spoiled. But I'd be curious to see if this Air of the Unknown has impacted the sales of a collector's edition one way or the other, whether more people pounce because of the mystery. Because there's plenty of people that love spoiling stuff. So, you know, someone buys their collector's edition on Amazon and it arrives a couple of days early, and they go and post their photo up on the internet, and everyone gets an outrage.
Probably happen. Because
it's clearly the Green Goblin. Or Green Goblin. Or does it have the other effect where people stay away? Because, like, there's this giant box of temptation there. And I've been working on Matt, as in Player 2 editor Matt, about PlayStation and the codes that are inevitably, hopefully, going to come. It was a tricky period with Tomb Raider and Dragon Quest and Spider-Man. And I think I've managed to negotiate the fact that I get Spider-Man in the event that they send it. Come on, Sony, let's get going. So that I can play that thing and then crack open that statue day one, because I want to do an unboxing for it.
Yeah, I get you.
And I won't do that because it's going to be spoiled on me, and yeah, whatever. I know I'm getting on my high horse and having a sook here, but I'm curious to see what impact that might have had, but they've been pre-ordered out for months, so...
Well, if it doesn't leak ahead, which I'd be surprised, because I presume at least one person's going to get it delivered early, like you said, from Amazon or something, and then if they're smart or savvy at all about online media, they will record an unboxing or post pictures to Reddit or however they want to go down about it. and then it'll be one of those scenarios of, fuck, the game's not out for 2 days. Mute
social
Spider-Man,
media blackout.
mute spider, mute the word man, mute the word spider. Like, just it'll be all sorts of craziness, and that's always terrible. But in the comments for this story on Press Start, there was one guy in there or girl just being like, well, oh, this sucks. I guess I'll just have to wait until it releases day one to watch an unboxing from someone about it. So I don't know if they were like thinking about buying it or thinking about trying to track one down on eBay and deciding they didn't want to, or just being highly interested in what it is and disappointed they're not going to know, or... as far as I'm aware, a collector's edition has not done this before to this extent. The only one it reminds me of is the Batman Arkham Origins one. Did you get this one? Or
yeah,
no?
they tried to keep that secret for a long time, but couldn't.
I never got it spoiled for me, and I still think it's a cool addition. I think it's been long enough, so I'm just going to spoil it. If you haven't played that game by this point, come on. So it's not The Last of Us. We're not giving second chances. So it was a...
and besides, the one for The Last of Us was clearly just a giraffe anyway.
It was the Joker standing inside this room with a bunch of TVs and whatever else. And when you opened up the collector's edition, it was like, cool, you can put that on your shelf. And that's what I did. I put it on my shelf as is, because inside one of the little compartments that you could open, one of the cupboards, was a plastic bag. And it clearly said, do not open this bag until you have beat the game. And I'm not a sadist, so I waited until I beat the game and left it in its packaging.
There's fortitude.
But once I beat the game, I was excited. I went over to my shelf where I had it seated and opened up the packaging, and inside was a little head of Black Mask, which you can then switch out backwards and forwards. The big reveal, of course, in Arkham Origins, that Black Mask was actually
Joker
charading around, yeah. And that was cool. I remember being like, that is cool that was included as part of the collector's edition, and they could intrigue you like that. And that was a generally really good collector's edition, since the show's apparently now just collector's editions, because it had all these wanted files and biographies that came with it, and like posters and whatever else. They're like, here's all the files, now start the game, don't open this until you beat it. Oh, twist, didn't see that coming. I actually didn't see it coming, so I was like, well, that's pretty cool. That's an interesting one. But yeah, to keep a high profile game, to which Spider-Man is one of the highest profile games of the year,
the biggest one for PlayStation for the second half of the year anyway. You could rival.
I would say it's going to be
God of War.
I reckon it would sell better. It's going to sell better than God of War.
Yeah, the Marvel name, the Spider-Man name.
Yes. So it'll be Sony's biggest game, and they're keeping the collector's edition, which they usually sell to make easy money on for most of these things, because they do make a decent profit of upselling them. They're keeping it a secret. Not like half of the statue. I'd say it's 3/4 of the statue, really, if you look at the size.
Yeah, based on the picture they put online, it looks like it could be 3/4.
Yeah. It's intriguing. I like it because I appreciate that they're like, we're going to make a collector's statue that once you've beat the game is going to have impact because story implications of whatever sort. And we're just going to say, don't look at it until you beat it. Because most of the time, collector's editions, if the characters go through changes through the game, you're always getting the characters looking like what they start the game as.
Yeah.
Because they don't want spoilers.
They don't want to spoil that, yeah.
Yeah. This is the only time that, as far as I'm aware, any developer's been brave enough to go, you know what the actual best collector's edition statue would be for this game? Something that spoils it, but fuck it.
It's gutsy.
Yeah. I like it. But that Twitter muting is definitely going to happen either way. Because even if nothing leaks before day one, it's still a matter of, cool, here's my collector's edition. Yes, I'm not going to look at that. It's still probably going to take me a week to beat the game or whatever.
Yeah, and you've got any of us that have access to it early. And again, let me be clear, I want to get a copy from PlayStation. I haven't got one yet. There's plenty of games media sorts that'll be saying different bits and pieces, and you want to be completely oblivious to all of it. And I completely understand and respect that.
Well, you're going to have all the big outlets like IGN will have that unboxing up day one.
Yeah. And that's fine for them because they're a big outlet and the unboxing. But I don't even mean necessarily the unboxings. I mean like just commentary about it, because there'll be an embargo and it's whatever the date is for that. no reviews and whatnot until this. And then there's launch day. And when launch day arrives, it's open slather. Like, you've reviewed it, doesn't matter now because everyone can buy it. People will get there and they'll just marathon the entire game. So as a games media person, you can then get out there and say whatever it is you want because it doesn't matter anymore. Everyone's got access to this product. You'd hope that most would have a bit of common sense and try not to spoil it for their fans or readers or whatever. But there's always a small minority that just say and do what they want, because if you're that person that generates a bit of buzz because you spoiled Spider-Man, well, then there's probably a few thousand more subs or followers or whatever it happens to be. So,
I'm hoping it's more than just, it's Doc Ock or something like that, because having that spoiled is not going to be a spoil to me, because as far as I'm concerned, he's in the game. So if that's all it is, whatever, I don't care. If it's a gravestone or something more dramatic, like that, then I'm going to be annoyed of having it spoiled.
I do feel like your gravestone, something to do with Miles, something like that. Would be interesting, given that their marketing, they're really trying to focus on Miles. I say they're not trying to focus. It's subtle, but I can't think of a trailer off the top of my head, like a proper trailer where he's not been present in one way, shape, or another. So they're clearly teasing the future of this, and I mean, wouldn't that be weird that let's kick off this brand new chapter for video game, like Marvel video games. Spider-Man's what we're kicking it off with. How awesome is this? It might be game of the year sort of quality, and then we kill the main character before we even really get things going, and we bring in Miles and whatever happens after that. Like, that's cool. It's gutsy. Again, this whole thing just smacks of real gutsy sort of stuff.
Yeah. Because I find it interesting that they say, don't do it, don't look at it until you beat the game. And whenever people talk about it possibly being Doc Ock, I'm just like, well, Doc Ock isn't going to be introduced in the last 5 minutes. And I'm going to be highly surprised if he doesn't show up within the first 6 hours.
So here's the big twist. It's actually the Joker.
Fucking hell. You can switch out his mask with Doc Ock.
You can switch from DC to Marvel and it's still the Joker.
Well, we'll find out soon enough, of course, because the game is out in just a couple weeks, really.
Come on, fingers crossed.
What might not be out in a couple of weeks? PS5. Let's talk about that.
I heard that I saw my favourite YouTuber talking about it. It's coming out in October this year, mate.
Who the fuck said that?
No, I haven't heard it at all. It's just, It's the usual sort of rubbish. As a teacher, I hear lots of things. One of my students the other day, and I'm steering this off topic already, one of my students told me about how he has been playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4. I'm like, right. Mate, do you mean Black Ops 4? He goes, no, Modern Warfare 4. Googles it, types Modern Warfare 4, swings his computer around, and it's just like a photoshopped cover art of, I don't know, maybe Modern Warfare 3. I don't know the bloody cover arts all that well, but like the shit that people believe, the shit that people see and take, like it's ridiculous. And I told him he's an idiot to his face, saw his face drop and realised, hang on, I'm a teacher, I need to undo this quick.
Your games media side took over.
Quick.
It's not just kids though. Whenever I go out and I meet up with a bunch of people that I haven't seen for months or whatever, and they play games, but they're not, I always find it weird when I'm like, in the industry as we are, but it's like, in the industry compared to them is like a fucking fish full of oceans difference,
Yeah.
But they'll say some things sometimes, and I don't even bother arguing. I'm just like, yeah. It's like, oh, Dylan, did you hear some?
That's right. The Last of Us is coming to Xbox.
Yeah, some shit like that. Really outrageous statements sometimes, and I just give up these days. I'm just like, oh, really? Or sometimes I'll try and be a smartest, but. What's your source, or like where'd you read that exactly? Oh, I saw it on Facebook. I was like, saw it on Facebook as you were fucking scrolling along. Did you click on the article? No, you just saw the headline, you fuck.
And it was alongside that dog video and the betting ad, and I love social media.
It must be true. I don't know if you know this, Paul, but if it's on Facebook, it's true.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, they are trying to clean up their act, Facebook, so it must mean that everything there is now legit.
Yes, I've it's hard sometimes. Okay,
I've derailed this enough. Continue.
Yeah, that's fine. PS5. So this story comes from Jewel Shockers. In the continuing story of alternative stories, because we've heard many different
Fake
stories, fake news, whatever you want to call it, about when PS5 will be out. Previously heard rumors that being brought out in 2021. Now, Jewel Shockers Giuseppe Nelva, which I think is how you say his name, broke down this report by Hideki Yasuda from ACE Economic Research Institute.
I'm not familiar with them, but they're from Osaka, so they know stuff.
Well, usually when you read a story like this, you click on because the report is linked. So I'm like, okay, let me read it my fucking self, Mr. Nelva. Let me break this down myself. Click on the link. It's all in Japanese. Right, you tell me how it is.
I trust your ability to translate. Michael Pachter, what have you got for me?
Yeah, no, I'll trust Jewel Shockers. It's not like some fucking
they do good work.
Random. Yeah, they good. That's fine. So Nelva writes, Yasuda-san mentions that at the present time, Ace believes that PS5 will come at the end of 2019. That being said, Murata Manufacturing and TDK have expressed concerns about the tightening of the worldwide supply and demand chain of monolithic ceramic capacitors, MLCC, and have indicated that it could be a future risk for the business. So basically what they're saying is this place reckons that the PS5 is coming soon, end of 2019. This is what this place reckons. And they reckon the only problem for that release date of end of 2019 is these chips that apparently are being built into a lot of cars and other things, smartphones, whatever else for 5G service. It sounds absolutely fucking bonkers when you read it, because you're like, oh, they're all these chips, they're going to be in all these phones and these cars, and that's going to slow down the manufacturing of the PS5. And you think, if it wasn't on Jewel Shockers, I would honestly be like, this is a batshit crazy story where you're looking for a reason to write about the PS5. But I'm like, okay, maybe it has a degree to it. It can make sense.
I mean, if this was PS3 going into PS4, I'd have reason to doubt what it says here, because PS3, Sony was using proprietary tech. So I'd be saying, no, hell with that. They're creating their own stuff. Who cares? It doesn't matter that we're lacking this, because Sony's doing it all themselves. And sure, they'll be outsourcing bits and pieces, but it's all for them. Whereas because these MLCCs and all the other tech, whatnot, that's probably required for this thing is inevitably being used by Xbox Scarlet, or as it's currently known anyway, Scarlet. Cars and God knows what other tech. Like, there's only so much to go around, so it makes some degree of sense. As ridiculous as it might initially sound, it makes some degree of sense that there's only so much that factories around the world can churn out, and they'll be doing all sorts of tests to make sure that they're hitting certain performance thresholds and all that sort of stuff. And if it's below, then you have to toss it. Like, it's all there's a lot of stuff that goes on here. So it doesn't totally surprise me. But I also feel like if PlayStation's hand is forced, and by that I mean if Xbox decides to go ahead next year, then they'll have the PS5 ready if they need to.
Let's get your opinion, because I've talked about it before, obviously. I'm of the side that the Xbox, I would put a decent amount of money that next Scarlet or whatever is going to come out end of next year or early 2020. From everything we read and hear about it, and the way Xbox acted at E3 particularly, just it smells around the corner.
Yeah.
It just smells around the corner. And it's pretty easy bet to say that they're ahead of Sony on the curve when it comes to next-gen console. Like, they jumped into getting ahead of that one. So that's when the story all kind of comes into place, as you're saying. Well, if Xbox is ahead and they're using the same sort of chips, then yeah, they've got them all. They've already cleared out the warehouse. Sony's coming through like PS5, and you're oh fuck, we're out.
Microsoft has already bought them. Sorry, guys. Yeah. And Tesla.
Yeah, fucking Tesla fucked us. What are you doing over there? Get your girlfriend Grimes out of here.
He was trying to create more submarines to save children in mines, but sorry, we used.
But
he
ruined the PS5 at the same time. So yeah, it's one of those stories where read it the first time, you're like, this is bullshit. This is too crazy. It's just all over the place. But then when you start thinking about the other factors, you're like, okay, yeah, it can make sense. So where do you stand on the whole next gen debate? Because I honestly feel like the Scarlet PS5 thing, it's a really interesting point in time at the moment where I feel like it's so close, and by so close I mean within like 2 years, yet no one's acting like it is, apart from a few people that actually believe it is.
I wholeheartedly believe it is.
Yeah.
And whether it's end of 2019 or whether it's early 2020 or even late 2020, I'm of the firm belief that whatever's going on now with chips and any of that sort of stuff, it will be resolved, because there's no way. And let's run with that assumption that Xbox is ahead, because I am inclined to believe that's the case.
Oh, I definitely.
PlayStation will be doing everything they can to ensure that the gap between the launch of those two consoles is at absolute max a month. Yeah.
Yep.
Because they've seen what happened when Xbox got the jump on them last time, and there was a few other factors as well, like poor marketing, prices, all those sorts of things. But and the proprietary tech and blah 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 blah. But they also saw the massive success of having a great marketing campaign, and Xbox's messaging is good. So if they can get the messaging, continue to keep the messaging on point as they currently are, and then have a system that is up to snuff and has a head start, then they're on a fair road to success already. So if PlayStation can at least match that, then I think they'll be okay, because they'll ride their momentum and the fact that PlayStation is the buzz thing again as far as consoles are concerned. So they'll be pretty desperate to make sure they hit whatever that window ends up being at the same time as Xbox, and they'll know what the other's doing.
Yep. Oh yeah. As far as I'm concerned, it's Xbox. It's just like one day they're all sitting around in their meeting room. They're like, "We fucking lost. Fuck it, moving on." Yeah. Scrap one off the table. Moving on. And you look at their E3 performance, where they just walk out and they're not really doing much for the current generation and their current console. They're just trying to gather goodwill. They're just like, here's a bunch. We buy these fucking studios. We got all these games. A lot of them are third party, but we seem to have a lot of games, even though a lot of them aren't exclusive. But we got a lot of games showing up, like Cyberpunk and whatever else. They're at our press conference. Good karma, goodwill. Yeah. People start associating these games with our brand, our name, even though they're not at all exclusive to us. They're here on our show.
No, but it totally worked for the likes of Destiny and those sort of things. So
exactly.
It'll happen again.
Yep. So I think they're just doing all that, just pretty much waning off Xbox One, just trying to gather that good karma, that goodwill back up, and then they jump straight into the next gen race way ahead of Sony was even prepared for it. From what it seems, Sony was just like, we've got years, and then someone was like, they've started the fire, and they're like, fuck, someone,
they're manufacturing. Oh shit, let's just create a portable thing, and we'll call it the Vita 2.
Yeah, the Vita Switch. I mean, they're always prototyping stuff and whatever else. That never stops. So it's not like they were completely caught off guard, but it's still to a degree of, oh fuck, we're not prototyping anymore. We're trying to turn one of these things into something a lot faster, many years ahead of when I feel like Sony was wanting to at all. So I really think the next gen is going to be interesting for these factors alone, and simply to see if Sony doesn't just completely fuck everything up, left, right, and sideways.
Regardless of when both of these systems come out, and we'll focus on PlayStation because this is a PlayStation show. How far in advance do you reckon we'd get the announcements? So say hypothetically it's coming out October next year. How far in advance? Because we know that we had the PlayStation event in February.
I was about to say they call a press conference in March, a special one, or whatever.
Okay.
You can't come out at E3.
No, that's almost too late.
Yeah. So, yeah, in my mind, it's like, oh, Xbox has announced they're doing a special showing for something March 20, whatever. Oh, Sony, 2 days later, have announced that they're doing something the next day. It's like, oh, okay, we all know what's going on here, guys. We can gather. Show us the consoles. What are you doing? If you get to end of April, then at that stage, would be inclined to jump off the train and be like, well, okay, well, maybe they announced it at E3, but it's not coming out until the end of 2020.
See, I can still buy May as being the first introduction, because that's what happened with the Xbox One. Now, admittedly, their messaging across the board was horrendous, but that was when they first announced it. They announced it in May, dogs, sports, Call of Duty. But like the messaging was horrible, but that's when they first announced it. Then they doubled down at E3, and then the thing came out at the end of the year. I feel like that 6 months or 5 to 6 months is enough, especially if the competition hasn't gotten a massive jump on you. Like if there's only a month or two gap, it doesn't matter too much, especially if it turns out they both launch at about the same time. It'll be an interesting sort of spot for everything to land. But
before we move on from this, my other final question, because a lot of people, if you bring up next gen consoles, are like, fuck, like I feel like I only just brought my current gen consoles last week or whatever.
That's because you've bought your 5th PlayStation Pro for the year. It's a $500 million thing, and then you got your Spider-Man, and that's your fault.
You wonder why you've got no money to buy the next generation.
The $700 collector's edition for Darksiders.
I fall on the side. The idea of next year, next gen console conferences and news and rumors and all this stuff, that makes me excited.
Yeah, I get
I'm
giddy
not
with
scared for my wallet. I'm just like, I'd buy it end of year. I'd work it out fine. It's whatever, but not even that part of it. Just the idea of the news cycle of everything around that and the press conferences. I'm like, oh yes, give it to me. I need that. That's really exciting to me.
I'm waiting for those first big leaks. I think they're the ones that I'm really hyped for, and those ones that there's
the blueprints.
This person has got enough cred. They've, they go and vet, like whoever it is goes and vets what this person's had to say in the past, and they got this right, and they got this right, and they got this right. That first leak about Xbox or PlayStation, that's what I'm really excited for. And then as soon as that comes along, then I start asking the questions, and say hypothetically it's early next year that we first start hearing little leaks and bits and pieces. I then instantly start wondering from the PlayStation lens, okay, what does that mean for Ghost of Tsushima? What does that mean for Death Stranding? What does that mean for The Last of Us? In terms of, are we seeing some of these moving to next gen? Are we seeing these straddling console generations, similar to, say, Metal Gear, Ground Zeroes, or what happens to those sort of titles? And does this mean we're finally going to see the sequel to The Order 1886?
Please. My answer straight away is, well, they just released it on PS4, and then they release it on PS5, and they just say it runs at 60 frames per second or something. There you go.
To an extent, I reckon that depends on when the game comes out in respect to the console. Like if we see a Last of Us, say, drop in its May, which I think would be ridiculous given Days Gone is early next year, but one of those three, and it's Ghost of Tsushima or The Last of Us, really. Death Stranding is probably a 2029 game. If one of those two drop in that kind of pre-E3 window, which PlayStation's got a knack of succeeding in.
Knack, shout out.
Yeah, knack. Then does that mean that we see, launch day, the remastered version, or like there's interesting questions.
A lot of these games, like The Last of Us, why can't it just be a PS5 game?
Yeah,
done. It's a PS5 game. Whatever. No one's going to cry wolf too bad about, well, you said it was a PS4. It's like, and then they were like, well, we kind of never did, but we kind of did.
We just said it's a PlayStation game, guys.
Yeah, we just said it's a PlayStation game, so they can get away with it.
It could have been on the Vita. It could have been on PlayStation TV.
I don't know. Obviously, I haven't read every interview ever with every developer for Ghost of Tsushima and whatever else, but off the top of my head, they just say they're PlayStation games. I know Death Stranding, that there was that quote about it being a PS4 / next gen game. It'll be on both, So they're covering bases there. The rest of them, it's a PlayStation game, PlayStation exclusive, whatever console we decide is exclusive. So
I think PlayStation with their exclusives have got themselves in a good spot anyway, because you've got those games that we just mentioned, and then we know, like, it's so obvious that Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is already in the pipeline somewhere. It's probably still pre-pro.
There's
or
rumors
very...
about Gamescom.
Hey?
Did you see these? There was rumors about Gamescom reveal.
Oh, they better not.
There was rumors. I don't believe them, but
this episode could be dated the moment it goes live, with Gamescom being a day or so away. But
it's tomorrow, but night. Yeah.
Like, I mean, that'd be great. I have my doubts, but like they'll be in pre-pro or early production for that, and then God of War is somewhere down the pipeline, and there's studios that are now building their next thing, which we all assume, and I think rightly, that it's a PS5 game or a next-gen game, that they're going to fall into place somewhere along the way, and as will those three that we've already spoken about, some of which will straddle console generations, some might be PS5 only. Like, the future already looks pretty bright, even though some of these games haven't been formally announced yet.
Yep. I think the best thing, when you boil down the games and you look at Ghosts and Last of Us, if they confirm, or if you go in knowing that these games are going to be on PS4 and PS5, and you're one of these people that are concerned about money-wise or whatever else, about having to upgrade your console to be able to play the latest games, but then know that you're going to get a year's run of PlayStation exclusives before having to even upgrade to PS5, you can feel pretty safe at that stage.
You can start hedging your bets and pushing money away and all those sorts of things. I don't subscribe too much to the people who complain about the amount of time between consoles or any of that sort of stuff, because console generations have gotten longer. And 1 year is a long time. Like, a console is a steep investment, $500-$600, whatever it happens to be. It's a steep investment, but it's not. I don't want to speak too out of turn, because I don't want to sound too high horsey or any of that sort of stuff. But like,
you're only on Platinum Explosion, it's fine.
I could do a console every year if I had to. I'm never wishing that on myself. But like, if I feel like I've kind of done that for the last 5 or 6 years anyway, between the Switch last year and the PS4 and the Xbox One X last year. I got the PS4 Pro the year before that, and VR. Like, there's been something almost every year for the majority of the last 5. And I know not everyone can do that, and not everyone wants to do that, but we're not that far away from that kind of future already.
As you're saying that, I'm like, well, I got the Switch last year. The year before that, I got an Xbox One S. And the year before that,
I sat back for a moment. Then I thought, what have I bought this year? Yeah. And then I realized I bought a second Switch.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So, and I said it was a gift for the wife, but really, it's just so that the two of us can play Mario Kart or Smash or whatever.
It's a gift, but really, it's just, I want to play the games with me.
Let's play Pokemon together.
Yeah.
It's. I feel like we're that close to these sort of purchases anyway, and I don't think we realise that we are.
Yeah, especially if you're one of these people that buys at least one of these limited edition PlayStations every year, and then you at the same time say, no, I only want a console every 10 years. You can't say that. You can't be willing to buy a limited edition console every year and then not be willing to upgrade your actual console every year. That doesn't make any sense. That's when you're in nonsense crowd over there. Now let's move on. Don't talk about PS5. It is intriguing. It is interesting. If we're both right and it is coming up hot in the heels or hot in the future, we'll be doing a lot more talking about PS5 in the future.
Speaking of PlayStation hardware.
Yeah. Sony have sold 3 million PSVR units, which I consider a lot more than I thought they would. Along with announcing they've sold 3 million units, Sony have also announced that they've sold 21.9 million PSVR games and experiences, which I was like, any of those experiences cost money? And I looked on the store and was like, oh shit, some of these actually cost like $20, $30. Shit, there you go.
Yeah, you still got some meaty ones in there.
Yeah, I was like, most of these things are free, like their music apps or whatever else that are usually free, and I download and have a go. But I was like, oh, okay, some of these costly. There you go. What do you think when you read Sony have sold 3 million VR units? More than you think, or?
I mean, I remember there being a number bandied around. I'm going to say it was between 4 and 6 months ago that was a bit over 2 million. So 3 million close to 6 months on doesn't surprise me entirely. I'm glad to see it. I believe it's still the most successful VR platform out there in terms of headsets out in the wild.
Yep.
But at the same time, I've found that I'm not using it very much these days. I've tried Moss out. I didn't get to, and I know you've kind of tried to course correct for me and remind me that what's the Until Dawn spin-off?
The Impatient.
The Impatient. You've pointed out that that's not all that great.
I didn't like that.
But then we've got your Firewall, 0 Hours, and those sorts of games coming out. Like they've got some cool experiences, but there was a period when it first came out where I obviously messed around with some of the VR experiences, and then I was using the theater mode for traditional games as well. Like I was laying on the couch, head facing the sky.
Doesn't look good enough though.
But I was playing Dragon Quest Builders.
Okay, yeah.
So
you just want a big TV.
It wasn't a graphically intensive sort of thing, and it allowed the wife to watch The Bachelor.
Stuff on TV.
Okay. And I unfortunately caught myself, and she pointed it out far too many times, me just tipping up the lens so I could have a peek at the screen and then putting it down again before she noticed, which I was a tad embarrassed about when I finally got busted.
You should be.
But yeah, like it was really cool, and I found myself not using it much these days. So I'm looking for more to play. Firewall's one of those things, and then in the same post, which I'm sure you're going to get to now, they announced 2 highly anticipated games for VR that are coming soon, which I'd never heard of. So for those of you listening, I did use the quotation fingers here. Creed, Rise to Glory, and Evasion. I did not care
anything about. One of them I did actually read about the other day, and I wrote a news post about it for explosionnetwork.com because I was like, oh, this is actually kind of interesting. So the first one was Creed, Rise to Glory, which when I saw the initial art and the name, I was like, this is a bullshit movie tie-in and it's going to suck. It's going to suck really hard and it's going to be crap and it's probably free and fuck this thing. And then I looked up a video for it. I was like, okay, this is actually a $30-something game. And then I watched a bunch of different interviews from a bunch of different outlets on YouTube. None of the big sites had covered it from E3, so most of them were YouTube channels called VR Source and, people tracking down specialists for the VR market. And it looks kind of cool, to be honest. As far as a boxing game goes for your VR, it is a quote unquote, I hate when people say real game for stuff, but sometimes you just say it and you're trying to. That's
where I use the word traditional.
Yeah, it's a mix between a sim and a more arcadey boxing game to a degree, I guess. So it's first person. You're not like looking at a third person character making the moves or whatever. There was a VR game like that. I can't remember the name of it though. But this is, you're in it with the gloves. And I watched a bunch of interviews with the developer, and the part that really sold me on it was they were talking about one of the problems with VR is obviously when you punch someone in the game, you're in game on your screen, your fist is going to connect with them at some point, but you in real life are just going to continue that fist through, and it's going to be a disconnect as you go for it. So they talk about some technology called phantom something limb or phantom punch or something along these lines, which is that when you punch and you connect, the fist in the game will stop, and your fist may follow through in real life. But they said what they found was more people, after playing it for some amount of time, their body would kind of get used to it, and all of a sudden they wouldn't be punching as far. Their brain would just make that connection. So the first 10 minutes or so they're playing the game, obviously they're just punching as far as they can with the move controls in their hand and whatever. But then after a while, because the fist on the screen would stop, that the brain was just doing what the brain does sometimes, which is it just works shit out. It adjusts. And all of a sudden they were only punching just in front of him, and they started moving and ducking and weaving a bit more. And when they start talking about that stuff, that is one of the things I find interesting about VR is sometimes you'll sit down to play a game and without thinking you'll start doing stuff. And this has happened since day one with me. From the first day when I played that Batman, what was it called? Batman VR, whatever.
Arkham VR.
Arkham VR. One of my first go-to shocking VR moments is day one VR. I take the day off work. I play for a bunch of games. I'm playing Batman Arkham VR. And every time, for most of the time I'm playing the game, I keep looking down at my utility belt. Every time I look down, I grab what I need. I look back up. I use it. At some point, half an hour or so in, without even thinking, I just grab shit, My brain was just like, that stuff exists there without you actually needing to look down at your belt and do it. And the first time I did it, I threw a batarang or whatever across the screen. I just stopped. I was like, whoa, that was cool that was cool on its own level of my brain, because I didn't do it on purpose. I just did it without thinking. I was just like, that's there, and I threw it.
Yeah, I've heard that story a few times, and I promise you're not Philip Musing it. Philip Musing in it.
Yeah, okay.
How do we? Yeah, we'll come up with a plural.
That's
for
a
that
term.
soon.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
I've heard that story about that specific game so many times, and specifically the utility belt thing. Like that is an awesome concept, and I don't know whether I did it. I'm sure I probably did eventually, but yeah, that idea of reaching down and like these things exist in this world that you're in. It's not the real world, but it is the world you are in, and they're there whether you can see them or not, and that's a big jump. And even it's totally different, but the way you play Moss and you lean in so you can peer around the environment, like they're doing some really cool things with it. And that concept that you're explaining there with the game Creed, like that's really cool. What I would love, and it's far too late now, but I would love for us to have something better than the Move controllers that maybe has that haptic feedback that we get from the Switch Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
Because the way they use that technology in the Switch is incredible. If they could implement something like that in a future Move controller or whatever it ends up being, you could create that sense of resistance as you punch the guy in his face or the chest or him or her, whatever. Then and you feel that bit of feedback, then you start to maybe it doesn't take 10-15 minutes. Maybe it's after your first punch, you go, oh, hang on. And you change your approach almost instantaneously, and that's really cool. Like maybe you take your swing, you connect with the guy, but because you follow through, your instincts to follow through, the game detects when you followed through far too far, and then you cop one to your guts for your trouble, because you actually learn as well as learning about your space within the environment, but the game's teaching you don't do that or we'll kick your ass.
I think the thing with the I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that the thing with the fist is, so it stops in front of their face and you follow through so much further, but then they can punch you, right? And you can't bring that fist back to defend yourself until you bring it back through to collect it on the way past. So then your brain kind of teaches itself, well, if you're going to do these really big punches and you're going to punch all the way through his face through to the other side or whatever else, you're losing 1 to 2 seconds there on the way back through to collect your fist to defend yourself. So then your brain kind of teaches itself, no, you jab, don't go much further. I don't know. It's one of those interesting things that you don't really need to understand. You just know your brain figures stuff out sometimes. It just works it out. Don't really need big explanation. But yeah, I'm intrigued to check it out, because a boxing VR game could be fun for multitude of reasons, and at the same time, I kind of look at it as, for half an hour playing a boxing game decently, that's a pretty good workout.
Yeah, you
could have fun at the same time. Yeah,
like I wouldn't want to do it, not because I'm averse to exercise, because I play quite a bit of sport and I love it, but having that dirty great big headset on your head whilst swinging like a madman, it's going to get kind of gross under there. I distinctly remember playing, oh damn it, the game from Gorilla, the sports game, mech sports game.
Oh, Rigs.
I played that day one, and I was in the headset there, and I wasn't like running around or doing anything, because that's not what the experience was. The game, I did that with the controller, but it was like a 40-degree day, and the cooling in the house is okay at best.
Yeah.
Within 5 minutes, there was just sweat running down me. Like my wife would have been repulsed. I'm sure she wasn't in the room whilst I was playing. She would have had to leave.
The last one I got really sweaty or worked up in playing was the Planet of the Apes VR game, which I can't remember the name of.
Planet of the Apes.
Something or other.
VR of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I don't know. I there's a review on Explosion.com about it. It wasn't that great. However, there's a lot of sections in the game where you put your arms up constantly to swing across monkey bars, I suppose. Yeah. You swing across monkey bars, and even though you're just standing in your room, but holding your arms up straight for 10, 15... I played the game for like 2 to 3 hours straight, and if I spent half an hour to 45 minutes of that time just with my hands up straight, moving backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. That's exertion after a while, you know. It's holding your hand straight and up in the air gets a little bit tedious. So I remember when
some
I
of the best
playing,
exercises you can do, like as in to actually build muscle, like some of those ones where you're just holding your arms out and you just you just small little rotations and you just hold it and you hold it and it just burns after a while. So it would work very well in that VR setting. You don't have to be doing weights. Here we go. We've done sport. We've now done personal training. Anything else you want to tick off today?
Yeah, I know, right? So final thoughts on Creed is I don't know if it'll be good. However, I'm probably going to check it out because I was sold watching a bunch of interviews with the dev, and I would look past the stereotypical kind of shitty poster movie tie-in expectations, stereotypes that you have thrown on yourself. The other game, Evasion, I'd never heard of like yourself. Never heard of in my life. So it just says, in Evasion, you play as one of 4 unique hero classes within an elite special operatives team charged with saving an embattled human colony. This intense sci-fi person's VR shooter from Akrakic hits PlayStation VR October 9, blah, 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 blah. I have no idea. Whatever. Sounds stereotypical, nothing. I don't really... I don't care enough to even look up developer interviews. I'm sorry.
There's a far better game they could have put in that spot. It's called Blood and Truth.
Blood and Truth?
It's the spin-off from the London Heist from PlayStation VR Worlds. Yeah.
Is that out?
Do we actually have a date for that?
I don't recall. That's what I was about to say. Do we have a date? I don't think we do.
No, it should absolutely have been that game.
Well, I don't think it's coming out soon enough, unfortunately. But I'm really looking forward to that. The other part for this story was they put out the top-selling PSVR games. This is North America only. I went onto the PS blog for the European or Australian one to see if they changed the story a little bit to include different sales. They don't. It's just the North American one. But whatever, it's still interesting nonetheless. So top 10 selling PSVR games, North America are Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim, PlayStation VR Worlds, Rec Room, PlayStation's... Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, The Playroom VR, Job Simulator, Until Dawn, Rush of Blood, Batman, Arkham VR, Farpoint, and Superhot VR. Any of those stand out to you?
Skyrim, because good grief, how are people still buying this game? I know it's different, but geez, it's the same game.
That makes sense to me, though. To be honest, I saw a lot of stories covering this, being like, can you believe that Skyrim sold the best? Yes, because even though I haven't played it, because I didn't really want to spend the money to buy it because there was obviously other things to spend money on, and I'd played the game before. I still want to pick it up on sale one day simply for the reason that I assume everyone else is buying it and playing it, in that, yes, I want to run around and scream fus-ro-what at dragons in VR.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. I'm curious to see how they got Resident Evil 7 in the chart, given that I presume they're looking at sales numbers, but if you based it on sales numbers, then Resident Evil 7 should be on top of the chart because it sold well, even for just a traditional PS4 game, let alone VR. So they must be measuring it based on, I don't know, like I remember Sucker Punch looked at trophy count.
Yes.
So they might be doing it based on whether people are even creating the trophy list. You probably don't even need to pop a trophy, but to see, like, you know that you've interacted with the game if the trophy list exists. How that works with VR? Resident Evil? Yeah, I messed around with it a little bit because I reviewed Resident Evil 7 when it came out. So I felt compelled to play it in VR, and I played for about 20 minutes and felt compelled to take it off because I was terrified.
I brought it on a sale last year for like $20 or something at Christmas time, with full intention of playing it, and we're approaching September and I still haven't got to it.
Oh man, find a way. Resident Evil 7 is exceptional.
I could have played it by now normally. However, I want to at least try from the start to play it in VR because everyone says it's one of the amazing VR experiences. You need to play it in VR.
I do agree with the idea of playing it from the beginning in VR too, because my one concern with Resident Evil 7 is that once you've experienced a few of the scares, they still do a pretty good job of executing them as the game goes on, but they're the same sorts of scares.
Yep.
So you're not as surprised, but if you're doing it from moment one and they get you with that big first moment, like, I'd love to be present to watch someone do it.
Well, I've been thinking about streaming it one day. It's just streaming VR is a whole hassle of setting up and whatever else, but we'll see. But I presume that they must be able to tell if someone's activated the VR mode, and then that's what they're comparing to the sales numbers somehow. Because as you said, if they were just looking straight up at the sales numbers, going, we'll count this as a VR title, then it would be on top. So it doesn't make sense otherwise. Rec Room, I have no idea what that even is.
Is that the little robots?
No, that's Playroom. Yeah, that's Playroom with the little dudes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Then I have no idea.
VR Worlds at number 2 kind of makes sense to me. Most people probably pick that up.
Bundle in sort of thing.
Whatever else, yeah. The Playroom VR, this is the thing. I'm pretty sure that's free. I don't recall paying for it. Unless there's DLC mission for it and they're counting the DLC sales. I don't know. That's an interesting one. Job Simulator. That's everyone probably picked that up as one of the go-to VR games for years, I suppose, especially when PSVR came out and it was up there day one, and all the reviews for it from HTC or whatever were top on Steam and whatever else. Until Dawn, I quite like that game.
I didn't try it.
Oh, really?
I've got it somewhere, I think, but I didn't try it.
Everyone talks shit on it. They're like, it's not as good as Until Dawn, blah, blah, blah. 100%. It's not as good as Until Dawn. It's nothing like Until Dawn, though. It is a on-rails shooter, and I played a lot of those in the PS1 era, so I have a soft spot to those to a degree. And the roller coaster ride got me so many times. And the other thing I did was when I played it in a computer chair, which I think made it so much better because I'm not sitting on a couch. I'm not laying, whatever, more comfortably. I felt like I was in the roller coaster seat.
No, that makes sense because, the computer seat kind of bounces and rocks a bit with you. So, that'd be a cool experience.
So there was many times where it would go down a real steep cliff or whatever else, it would loop-de-loops, loop-de-wows, whatever the roller coasters are doing, that it would get me and my stomach would churn and whatever else. And then the twin stick shooting stuff was, fun. Farpoint I haven't tried yet. I'm waiting to pick up the gun on sale, whatever it's called, the long shoot gun thing.
The aim controller?
I think aim, yeah. I'm still waiting to pick that up one day on sale.
It's all right, but I think waiting for a sale is the right idea. But it's certainly up on the chart because they tried to bundle it and they sold a peripheral, so...
Yeah. And Farpoint, one game with the gun. It's like, okay, I'm not playing that much. You pick it up now, you got Farpoint, you got whatever else. You've got Arizona Riot, whatever. All these other games that use it, plus the one we mentioned before is going to be using it, 5.0.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Firewall 0 Hour.
Yep, Firewall's it. Yeah, so that's going to be using it. What a weird title. But, yeah, they'll be using the game, so that will help sell it.
And super hot.
Super hot. And I've not finished that game because it's very hard. However,
are you talking about the VR version or are you talking about the original version?
I've only played it in VR.
Okay. I've only played the original version.
Oh my God. Playing in VR, I cannot imagine playing it in non-VR. Because here's the thing. In my mind, when I think about super hot, when I want to move the time forward slightly, I think about either twiddling my right hand a little bit to make the time move, or moving my neck slightly. And because I think both of those things are tied to what I think about moving the time forward, when I think about not playing it in VR, I'm like, well, I'm only twiddling my right
thumb?
analog stick. It's the whole disconnect. Don't even have it. These bullets flying at me, and the amount of times I'm like, I'm standing in the middle of my living room. I would have looked like Neo from the fucking Matrix.
Contorting yourself.
Yeah, contorting myself to ridiculous degrees. There's times where bullets are flying and you're like, whoa, leaned all the way back. And then your hand's about to get hit and you're like, oh, move that one. It's like you're playing Twister, contorting. That game, I know I haven't played it non-VR, but that game, come on.
No, VR's... that is one that I need to get back and do in VR. I am keen to do it.
It becomes very hard at times though, and because you can't see everything that's happening on the screen, and then you freak out and you look real quickly over to one direction, next second you're dead, and it's like, fuck! I got very agitated trying to do one particular level. It's funny. Very angry. Couldn't.
Yeah, I bet.
Trying to throw a bottle across the room, the fucking move controllers just pissing me off because I'm like, I pressed the button, fucking throw the bottle or whatever else. But Yeah, interesting. I'm glad that VR sold 3 million units because I am a VR fan. I don't think they've done I don't think Sony's done everything they could have for it. But as a general fan of the technology of VR and hoping and wanting VR to continue as we go forward to the PS5 and whatever else, I'm glad to see that it has sold decently within its first 2 years, I guess, nearly. When did it come out? September?
Yeah, that'd be
October?
right. Yeah, about 2 years.
About 2 years? Yeah. So I think that's pretty good. 3 million, 2 years for
New technology.
For a new technology. I think that's pretty spot on. Pretty good.
We did speak about Blood and Truth. I did just notice at the bottom of the article it actually states that Blood and Truth is one of the games coming in 2018 and beyond.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
There you go. We'll see. All right, let's move on. So we both played The Walking Dead, the final season, episode 1, done running, which is a mouthful of a thing to say at any point in your life.
Imagine creating a bloody headline for a video or article where you've got 90% of the text is just the title of the game. You haven't even expressed an opinion yet.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
I put it into my review headline and was like, cool. That's when you click on the web page.
It's an SEO nightmare.
Yeah. the link is whatever date /08/2018 /the.walking fucking hell URL. But we both played it. You put up a let's play playthrough on Player 2's YouTube.
And as did you.
What's it?
I said, and as did you. But
yep, I streamed it live and then kind of chopped and chipped it a bit and then put it up on our YouTube as well. And then I put up a review, explosionnetwork.com as well. End of my review, I said, the premiere of Walking Dead, the final season, is a slow burn to set up new relationships and help you decide what kind of maternal figure you want to be for AJ. What did you think overall of the premiere episode for the final season?
I actually felt the same way. I'm really expecting payoff, and not as in I expect better, blah, 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 angry rant. But much like you said in your piece there, it is a slow burn and you gradually build into the experience and you're learning about these new characters and seeing what makes them tick, and you're learning about this dynamic between Clem and AJ, who have both grown up quite a bit since we last saw them in the New Frontier, and
barely saw them in the New Frontier.
Well, yeah, sorry, good point. But there's a whole dynamic that needs to be established between those two, and you can see that Clem is trying to be that Lee sort of role, but AJ is no Clem, from no young Clem, the way he's twirling guns around and all that sort of stuff. It hits you
straight away, doesn't it, when the episode starts and that noise in the back of the car.
Yeah.
And it's not, can you stop playing with a gun? You're a child. You shouldn't have that. That's a dangerous weapon. It's, can you stop doing that? Because it's a little bit annoying, the noise.
Yeah.
But
swinging a gun around is just the norm these days. So
don't
put it away. Just don't be annoying with it.
My favorite thing for this season, they set up some new interesting characters, whatever else, the bad guy or bad guys, whatever they're going to be, to whatever with them. They're just your typical whatever. I don't care. So far from what we've seen, they're just going to be your typical bad guys from the Walking Dead show. And it's going to annoy me a little bit, but at the same time, the thing that interests me the most is simply AJ and Clem. But I think AJ is easily the most interesting thing in the premiere, and they are doing what they should be doing with the final season, and focusing on his character is the most interesting thing because it's a character we haven't got before, and it's a character in an apocalypse, particularly zombie apocalypse, that you don't see explored much within the medium, which is someone who was just born into it and doesn't know anything beforehand. Most of the time when you're watching or reading or whatever, playing zombie stuff, it's always, the apocalypse happened, you're the group of survivors, it's 2 months after it, 6 months, whatever. But you're always, as an adult or someone who at least grew up during the normal world and knows normal things, which they tackle in this, like manners, how to just treat people right, and the fact that killing someone or the idea of killing someone
should still be
people
hard.
Being killed around you should be something. But AJ's a kid who sees stuff, fucked up shit all day. And when they talk about having to potentially kill zombies, or the idea of them being killed by zombies or anyone else, is just, whatever. Gotta do it.
And he's desensitized to the whole thing.
It's dark as fuck too. That line when Clem gets down and it's like, what do we do? Make sure we do always save the last bullet for ourselves. You know, it's like, that's fucked up.
Yeah, teaching a kid to shoot themselves, essentially.
Yeah, which is
like, context is important when we say that, but
yes,
like it's
still fucked up either way.
Yeah,
even if it's the right thing, quote unquote, the right thing to do in the zombie apocalypse. Like, what's the right thing to do in the zombie apocalypse? But she's right, and it's not like you're like, Clem, that's fucked up. You're just like, the reality they live in, the world they live in, that you have to say that and teach that as a thing is fucked up.
Yeah, for sure.
I played my Clem as I was saying, how you choose to be maternal with her, because they do give you the option to play her
cold,
very cold if you want to. I played her as more of somewhere between a friend and a motherly figure, but not overly motherly, I guess. I was trying to ride the line there of, yes, I'm kind of your mother figure, but at the same time I want to be your friend as well. Don't want to dive too far into that line of just being the parent that can't talk to you about stuff. How did you play her?
I guess I was kind of in that. I didn't quite think parent, but I felt like I was playing as Lee in many ways, trying to be a mentor. Mm-hmm. And when there's disputes, not necessarily between myself and AJ, but between others, and maybe I'm just a third party of the whole thing, but trying to be really diplomatic about it and coach and guide and support. And I think it's some teacherly instinct and whatnot coming out as well. But at the same time, there's a lot of similarities between you've just described and what I was just talking about as well. But that big difference, like you were saying, is AJ, and he doesn't just take on board the advice like Clem did back in season 1. He questions everything. He questions it. He's prepared to argue it. He's prepared to completely ignore it. Culminating in a fairly sizable outcome at the end, depending on how you play the game.
As far as I'm aware, the big thing that happens at the end always happens. It's just how you get there. Yeah.
So it's it's the old Telltale thing where it spreads and converges again. Damn it. Oh, still the how you get there, because you could be very encouraging of AJ's behavior, which then means that it doesn't totally surprise you when certain behavior X happens at the end. Or you could feel like, I'm doing a pretty damn good job of this, and what happens comes as a total shock. Which is...
I was shocked.
Yeah, which I'm sure I haven't... It's a long video to go through yours if I've already watched my own back as well as playing it.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect you to. It's fine.
But I'm sure your expression was probably not too different to me. Like, my jaw just dropped, and it doesn't often happen with me. Like, I don't know. I hear lots of stories about people getting emotional playing games, and no matter the emotion. And I don't typically. I think I'm fairly objective about the whole thing when I'm sitting there watching, so I don't get too caught up in the emotion of something. But The Walking Dead, more than most series, has been able to elicit that jaw drop, and it did it again with that outcome at the end. I don't know. They do a really good job with that series, and they've done it again here. But I hope that, given that this was a long episode, like
2.5 hours is what I'd roughly put it at. Yeah.
Like it's a lot of that slow build to a payoff at the end that I then hope rockets everything along going forward, that we build up a fair bit of momentum. And at least they're trying to establish some momentum with the release schedule of these episodes, which you and I have discussed on Twitter already, but they're currently expecting it to be monthly, which is good.
If you don't know, episode 2 is at September 25th, episode 3 is November 6th. They skipped October because they're like, fuck that shit. And then episode 4, the finale, is called, is December 18th, just in time for Christmas.
Yeah. And I expect there might be some fluctuation in the middle there, but I think December 18th will remain solid.
Yep. Look, if the whole series wraps up, end of year, I'm happy. That's good for Telltale.
Yeah.
As far as Telltale schedule's concerned, if they can put the first episode out in August and finish it by the end of the year, that's fucking good work.
Yeah. But it's kind of at least planned to rocket along similarly to what I expect things now will with the episodes now that we've had this big moment at the end of this episode. So I'm curious to see how it all plays out. Were you happy with, because Telltale's engine is always criticised?
The Telltale tool.
Yeah. I felt it worked okay. I didn't have any dramas at all.
I had zero issues with this, and with that said, I still want the upgrade. There's still graphic fidelity things I would like to
it's
fix.
dated.
There are still a lot of things that show up, even comparing this to Captain Spirit, where you could have conversation choices while interacting with other things at the same time. Those little details really show when I'm playing The Walking Dead and I'm having a conversation, and it's you're in the conversation. You're not walking around, you're not controlling, you can't interact with other stuff at the same time. So the engine is dated to a degree, but at the same time, this is a lot fucking better than season 3, which I just came off before I played this. I only just played through that the week before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I was one of those people, like a lot of people, well, I don't know how many, but I've seen people online say that they skipped season 3, which is the reason I wasn't fussed about it, because a bunch of new characters, heard that Clem was barely in it, did nothing. I was just like, I don't really care, to be honest. I've got an attachment to Clem, and I don't want the third season to introduce new people and have Clem be the supporting character. I'm like, why did I play through 2 seasons beforehand, make this huge decision in season 2, and now you want season 3 to be this? I was just dumbfounded about their decision to that. And having just played season 3, it's pretty crap as far as I'm concerned. I am not a fan of season 3. It's fine. Parts work, whatever else. But whenever I think about all the moments I enjoyed mostly from season 3, Clem parts, Clem here, all that sort of stuff. Clem dealing with losing AJ, spoilers for season 3. Clem dealing with losing AJ, then having to try and track him down and whatever else. But whenever it's any of the other shit, the Frontier, whatever the place was called, the Final Front.
The new Frontier.
New Frontier, that's it, yeah. Whenever it was any of that stuff and that new family, none of them were particularly interesting, and I didn't care. So the only reason that I rushed through season 3 was obviously to get ready for season 4. But if they'd never done season 4 and they just left it at season 3 for whatever reason, I probably would have never played it. I had zero
Yeah, it
interest.
makes sense. Did you try out Michonne at all?
I played Michonne because I read the comics, and the time period that the Michonne storyline takes place in, I knew exactly where that fitted in the comics, because she disappears from the comics for a short period of time, and then she comes back one issue, she hops off a boat, and she's like, oh, I had a fucked up time doing whatever over there, and Telltale was like, yeah, whatever she was talking about there, that's the basis for the game. And then I didn't like Michonne at all, because they do this whole thing where they kept trying to put her in danger and be like, she's going to fucking die. I'm like, no, she doesn't, because it's Michonne. Yeah. I've read the comics. I know she makes it out of here alive. You can put her friends in danger. I don't know who these people are. They may die. Whatever. That's where you want to focus, Telltale. But if you spend another fucking, she's nearly in danger again. Oh my God, get out of here. It's boring.
When you're using, it's like prequels for Star Wars and all those things. We know where this thing's going, so it doesn't have the impact. Whereas if you put Clem in danger, she's not a canon character when it comes to the comics.
She's new. Yes.
She's exclusive to this series, so it's possible that something could go wrong, and there's an investment there. It's one of the big problems with prequels, is that sort of thing.
Yep.
I mean, look, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was interesting. But it's not season 1, 2, or 4 so far. Yeah.
And as playing through all of season 3 in basically a 2-week period, and then jumping straight into episode 1 of the final season, I enjoyed everything about that 2.5 hour experience with Clem way more than any of the 5 episodes of season 3.
Yep.
So, how do you feel about it only being 4 episodes, though? Do you think that's...
I mean, based on the length of that first episode, I think we're going to get 5 episodes worth in 4 episodes, so it probably doesn't matter too much.
All that long, it probably doesn't matter.
I don't know. Like we've kind of found that Telltale in the past, and whether it's been The Walking Dead or Wolf Among Us or whatever, they've kind of had that one episode, whether it's episode 2 or episode 4, where it drags a bit and it's a bit of a nothing episode. And it's clear that they've kind of got specific beats planned out for the other episodes, and it's not left them much to work with in whatever that particular episode happened, that filler episode happened to be. So if it means now that we're going to get meatier, tighter episodes, and I still consider this first episode tight, despite the fact that
I wasn't
it dragged.
bored. I didn't feel like any of it was unnecessary. I just felt like it just had to happen. It's just one of those things. Yeah.
It's the big thing about setting it up. But if it means now that everything, especially again with how this first episode ended, we can kind of really build some momentum from this point, then some of those bits of filler we might have seen in the past just won't exist.
Yep.
There'll be presumably 3 more big pillar events that'll occur between now and the end of the series that will frame everything that goes on from here, and that works for me.
Yep. Okay. I'm really excited to see it through. I'm really happy that there's this tight schedule that I hope they keep to. I'm going to be so... And
I'm terrified that she's going to die.
Yeah. You can't not believe that it's not one of the endings.
Is this the first piece of Walking Dead media, be it film... not film, TV, game, comic, that is actually coming to an end? Like an arc is concluding? So... Yes. What happens in this game could be indicative of an overall theme that we may see in the TV series or in the comics. Like if it's, I won't go as far as say happily ever after. Like, it could be we find a cure to the virus or whatever, or whatever.
I don't see that happening.
No, but like as in it could be that, or it could be Clem's dead and the thing just continues. Like, this is just the way the world is. It sucks. Or, happily ever after. Like, it could set a bit of a tone for what will happen in those other forms of Walking Dead-based media as well.
This is how it's going to end. Everyone's going to die but AJ and Tennessee, and then those two are going to go off their distance as the youngest survivors of the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, right.
To work together. Yeah. It's an interesting time for the Walking Dead medium in a whole, because this is ending. Well, quote unquote ending, with Telltale being like, we can do more if we want to, but this is the end of Clem's story. Please just let this be the end of it. Don't do any more. And then with the Walking Dead TV show, the main actor's leaving. So as far as I'm concerned, that show's going to have to start wrapping up within the next couple of years. I know most people who have ever known who watched the TV series have jumped off it. I jumped off at season 4 or something like that, so I don't care. Robert Kirkman has said the comic, he knows the ending. He hasn't said exactly where it is, but if I was to be guessing, I'd say it would be ending within the next... The way the story's going at the moment, there's only so far he can stretch it, maybe another year or so. So maybe everything Walking Dead's wrapped up within the next couple of years. And having lived with the Walking Dead around in different mediums for 10 years, I suppose, at this point, it's kind of weird to think the Walking Dead not existing as a property. Yeah,
it's probably a good thing, but again, it has me really interested to see what tone this sets for everything else. And look, maybe there's no link at all in the end, but I'm sure Kirkman is working with Telltale in one way, shape, or another to have some similarities.
Yeah,
like there's a general idea that he wants to hit.
Well, it's about he said from day one it's about the people, and that's the thing that the TV show or this game have carried on is zombies, sure, but the story is always supposed to be focused on the stories that the people do. What do people do in a zombie apocalypse? What do they do to each other, etc., etc., etc. If Clem dies at the end, that's a YouTube video where I'm probably crying. But that's just gonna be how it is. I'm sure. People have already pointed out that the song the final episode's called what's it called? Take Us Back, which is the song that plays at the end of episode 5 of season 1.
Oh no! All right.
Yeah, people have already pointed that out, and everyone's just, as soon as I read that, I was like, oh god, no!
We're anxious.
He's doing it to me.
And what'll actually happen is the nukes will drop, and all of a sudden it's Fallout 76.
Yeah, fuck it. Good marketing, Bethesda. Good job. That's a good job. All right, let's head towards the end of the show. It's been a long one. We've got quick hashtag every trophy counts. Track Lab is out this week. It's a VR game. I actually think I need to double check this. I should check before I just thought of it. I'm pretty sure Track Lab is made by the same developer that made that Creed game. 99% sure. That's odd. So Sidonus or something like that. But Track Lab's out. It's a VR game where you can make music. You can fuck around with music. Apparently there's puzzles in it because they're listed in the trophy list. Trophy list looks pretty easy. Complete puzzles. Whenever you see something in a trophy list that says complete puzzles, you go, cool, that's a YouTube video away from doing it. There's a bunch of golds for you. Then a bunch of the other trophies are for making X amount of songs with certain instruments and whatever else, which once again is a simple matter of someone telling you in a guide exactly what to do. And there's a bunch of trophies popping. This does have a platinum, so I'm going to keep my eye on that one. And if it is an easy one, chuck it on a wish list to pick up because it's not particularly a game I want to muck around with. I don't want to make music in VR. I'm sure there's an audience for it, I suppose. And then the other thing out this week, Shenmue 1 and 2, the collection, which I have no history or care for, really. I can respect it by the amount of people that love it. The trophy lists I looked up, I then looked in forums, and from people who played the previous games, apparently it's a bunch of missables, but they pretty much boils down to do everything in the game. All the side missions, get all the collectibles, and that's it. So you will need a guide to get the Shenmue 1 and 2 platinums.
Yeah, I've got my Shenmue 1 and 2 pre-ordered, and it's...
Oh, really?
And I mean the digital version, because I never experienced them back in the day, and I want to see what the fuss is about, so...
I do, but I don't
pre-ordered
want to
them on the... Hey?
I do, but I don't want to pay, which is...
That's fair.
You know.
I don't know how quickly I'll get to them, because, I mean, you're talking about trophies here, but there's also a hell of a lot more that's still coming out this week as well, including Guacamelee 2,
yeah.
Little Dragon's Cafe, Brawl Out, which I played on the Switch and adored. Hey? Yeah, which has... Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, like, I really enjoyed it on the Switch, and I now want trophies for it.
Fair enough.
So...
We support your decision at Platinum.
Exactly. Buy it twice, why not? So I don't think I'll get to the game all that quickly, but missable trophies, like, it scares me, but I figure it's one of those things like the PS2 remasters that we've seen. The trophy list is simple. Of course they have.
Because they can look at that trophy list and people have already played the game.
They know the key notes, yeah.
Yeah, so it's already done.
Look, I'm keen to do it for that reason alone, but we'll see how we go. Will I go for the plat? I don't know. It depends on how much time I've got. Maybe I'll put that paternity leave to good use.
Yeah. If I was doing it, I would just follow a guide because I'm not fussed about story spoilers. And if I was playing it, I would be quite happy just to follow a guide and say, show me everything that is Shenmue and get me a platinum while I'm at it.
Yeah.
Just take me through, lead me to where I need to go, tell me what I need to do. I don't want to be stuck on puzzles or anything like that because I know the game has puzzles of a degree in it. And I don't want to be stuck on any of that shit. I just want to float through the game and be like, just experience it without any of the upsetting... Because I've already heard I'll get upset with the controls and whatever else. And
oh, good.
So...
This is an experience that I had to play, right?
Yeah,
maybe I'll quickly email PlayStation and try and cancel my order before it... No, they've already downloaded it on my system. Damn it. Yeah,
you're fucked now. They took the money. All right, we got two quick questions from Michael who wrote this week. If you want to write in questions, head to our Discord, explosionnetwork.com/Discord, or you can tweet them at PlatPodcast, or of course mail platinum@explosionnetwork.com. The first one is pretty straightforward, and I had to make sure it was a real... his actual question was right, but it is just simply, is water realism a high mark in favour of a good game for you? Which I then asked, are you just asking if like good graphics on water is a big deal in games for us? He's like, yes.
In a game that emphasizes water, then yeah, that's fairly important. Like I recall that, and this is not a PlayStation game, but I recall all the conversation about Sea of Thieves and people were making a fuss about the water. It's because 99.9% of your time you're out on a lot of water.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Same sort of idea with Assassin's Creed Black Flag and those sort of things. Like those sort of games where you're interacting with water a lot.
Oh, beautiful water in that game, though.
Yeah. you have an expectation that these things look good, especially when they're coming from a AAA publisher. The rest of the time, I couldn't care less.
No.
It's a nice perk if they've put a lot of time into it. You know, like if it's a Naughty Dog game, I think you can expect that it's going
Uncharted 3 had really good water in that boat level.
Yeah. And the physics around it, like that was exceptional.
Yep.
But like there's some studios that you just expect will do it regardless because they like putting that sort of level of, and they see the challenge in that sort of attention to detail. But the rest of the time, I couldn't care less. Like I'm not a big graphics guy anyway. So if it's nice, it's nice. If it's not, I couldn't care less.
Yep, I agree with your answer. If water is a big part of the game, if it's an open world game like Black Flag, or if there's a specific level or levels that are about water, then yes. However, if the game just has a couple random ponds just littered throughout the map or something like that, yeah, I don't care. So if I walk through the game, it's like everything's beautiful, but that pond sticks out like a sore thumb. No, I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah, not enough. So Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, too much water,
yeah,
not good enough
7.9
looking. That's it. 7.6 IGN.com.
And then his longer question was, Dear Platt, coming up in September and October are the next 3 games that interest me. Spider-Man, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and of course, Red Dead Redemption. All 3 of them have special editions that have gameplay pre-order bonuses, i.e. skill points and or in-game money. The last game I remember getting such bonuses in was Deus Ex Human Revolution. It came with a DLC gun, nothing special, and then also a few grand. Enough to buy a small head start, but nothing game-breaking. Are they worth it, in your opinion, for the slight head start, or is it better to search for the cheapest price if I'm planning to buy it on day one? I will be getting a physical copy. Thanks, Fiery Phoenix, hashtag Platt is Kieran again. No, it's not. He was only here last week, and then he'll be gone for another 12 weeks.
So... Look, I'm not a big multiplayer guy, so those sort of perks don't bother me too much anyway. But
they
as
do it for
far as
single-player games. Though,
hey?
He's talking about like single-player game money.
Oh, those
money.
head start. Oh, right.
Yeah, that's what he means. Like Assassin's Creed, here's a bunch of credits that you can buy weapons earlier in. Imagine if The Witcher gave you 500 golds at the start so you could buy better weapons early, etc., etc.
I mean, as long as it doesn't break the gameplay experience, like, you know, it's not an end game sort of level thing, then it doesn't really matter too much. And even if it was in something like The Witcher, if it's an end game, and I know we're using The Witcher as an example here, but you know, like it's a level 50 sort of weapon, well, who cares? You can't use it till you're level 50, so great, you can bank it and you can enjoy it in 200 hours from now. I mean, I don't mind that sort of stuff, but at the same time, to the whole price argument, and Red Dead's maybe an example here, like if you want to get a collector's edition of that game that's going to include any of that sort of stuff, then you're up for, what was it, 130 or maybe 150 sort of dollars for those different collector's editions.
If you're looking at JB Hi-Fi, $69.
Exactly. You go to JB or Big W and get it for, like, is the $60, $70 saving, maybe $80 saving worth it for an hour or two head start of gameplay?
Most of the time, it's 1 to 3 hours head start.
Yeah.
Kind of. So
I don't see any reason to do that sort of thing, unless I was planning on getting the collector's edition anyway.
Yeah. I've never brought a collector's edition for this. I can't understand buying a collector's edition for this sort of stuff. That doesn't make sense to me. If you buy, anytime I've got this stuff, it's just I've got the collector's edition for the statue, whatever else. It's come with this code, and I've redeemed it, of course, because I've got it. So I'm not going to just fucking chuck it away. But most of the time, it's cool. I got a weapon, and I barely notice any difference it makes to me. And if it did, it's obviously so unnoticeable about the difficulty, because none of these games I've played where I've got this, someone's been like, oh, the first 2 hours are really hard, and I've been like, oh no, it was really easy for me with my pre-order bonus weapon. That I just
it doesn't break the game like that.
The only time I have problems with these bonuses is with the multiplayer ones. I think that's unfair.
Yeah.
If they give you a overpowered gun or something like that straight up, I don't mind the XP bonuses. That's fine. That's where the line is drawn for me. If you want to give someone,
I think that's the sweet spot.
Yeah, that's a fine. But if you want to give someone extra weapons and gear and stuff like that, just as soon as you can pay money for anything that's multiplayer to make you better, get yourself better gear, no. You could fucking pre-order to get every weapon in the game for a single-player game, and I don't care. You could have the platinum done a lot easier than me because you found playing on a hard. easier because you just got all these weapons because you pre-ordered or something like that. But it's not ruining my experience with the game. Is where the stop is. Is the bonus ruining the experience for someone else? No, because it's a single player game, so I don't care.
Yeah, so who cares? Do what you want.
Do what you want.
You do you.
But yeah, I would say straight up, the answer is simply, I don't think spending the extra $30 to $50, however many dollars it is to get this is anywhere near worth it.
Yeah, if you can justify the rest of the stuff, then that's fine. But if not,
yeah, if it's an added bonus, like we're saying, because you're getting it for the statue or the art book or whatever else, sure.
Give me a good art book.
Oh,
that's why I didn't get the Darksiders one, because the art book was not good enough. It wasn't worth an extra $600.
The breaking point. Oh dear. That's going to be a wrap on today's. Well, by the time you finish listening to it, it might have been a full fucking day. It's 24 hours long.
Gamescom's here, and we actually know that the PS5 exists now.
Yeah.
Darksiders 3 has launched.
On the maybe. You can follow Paul on
Twitter at PaulJamesP2.
And you can pimp the Player 2
the website.
Stuff.
All right, player2.net.au, reviews, previews, blah, 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 blah. The YouTube channel, youtube.com/player2netau. You'll find my shows, Patched, The Insider, the Late Game Reviews, not mine. I just went into the usual spiel then. A whole bunch of Player 2 plays. My latest project, Gamer School, please check that out. It's 9 months of work, 8 months of procrastination, but a good solid 1 month of really hard work that is gradually rolling out at the moment. So please go check that out. And yeah, we're on Patreon, patreon.com/player2au. Early access. Dylan, you joined us on the Player 2 podcast one time because you supported us at the tier. Thank you for that again.
Brought my way
on
there. Go do it.
We should probably one of these days have you on because you know your stuff as opposed to give us money.
One day I'll be... Dylan's here this week because he does actually do this stuff though.
and yeah, you log in and you look at us and we're all sitting there with our hands out.
Where's the money, Dylan? We thought you were going to play this time. Yeah, that was it. So check out Player 2, of course, all their stuff. You got the charity event coming up too. So everyone should go
we do have the
donate
charity marathon. I don't know the date because
September 14th or 15th or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I should know the date, but I'm not going this year because the baby's too close at that point, so I shouldn't really be leaving the state. But we're raising money for charities, Canberra region / southern New South Wales. It was great last year. We raised 3,700 and something. We're trying to match that again this year. If it's anything like last year, anyone who donates, no matter how much, I think $5 or higher, but I think basically everyone got a free game, be that a code or a physical thing. It was kind of randomly drawn at the end there, but some people were pulling some really fancy collector's editions for $5. Do it before the marathon starts and you go into the running for a special edition Gears of War for Xbox controller. But this is a PlayStation podcast, so to hell with Xbox.
That's fine, it's a charity, so.
And like, there's lots of cool giveaways there, and you're helping support charity, so that's a good deed. Go check it out on the website. The tab is right there in the top right corner when you visit the site.
I can jump right off that and say we only as of recording did we put on our socials, if my scheduling went correct, but we're going to be doing the Great Games Done Slow this year.
Oh, nice.
Support Checkpoint, the mental health. So we're doing that on I won't remember the date the first time. Well, it's a day or two after yours. That's how I worked it out. Yeah. So we'll host yours and then it should roll straight into ours. And
then I'll hassle Matt and I'll make sure that we just flip things over and and go from supporting Terry Campese to Games Done Slow.
Yes, great games done slow. So the idea is playing games, chill, relaxed, for mental health and stuff, Zen-like. So you can head on over to explosionnetwork.com. It'll be there on the front page, all the details.
You can slowly cry with you as Clem dies in episode 2 of the season, and they just cancel it from there.
It's the rest is AJ. That could be a possibility, and that would just be terrible. God. But we don't want to bring about that. You can follow
Lee
me.
comes back. Zombie Lee.
Oh my god. You can follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil, Vivaladil. You can follow this show on Twitter at Platt Podcast. Don't forget to go onto Apple Podcasts. Rate the show 5 stars or less if you... whatever. A rating's a rating, as they say. Any good press is good press. If you can't do that, word of mouth is the second best thing. As mentioned before, Discord, explosionnetwork.com/Discord. We're on there talking about movies, TV, general topics, whatever else. Nick posts random shit all the time. I'm sure you'll like it. This is a product of Explosion Network, of which you can find many more shows, articles, news, reviews, and more at explosionnetwork.com. You can then follow Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod. And until next week, when we're talking about Darksiders 3, which has got announced for being ported to the PS5, which was announced at Gamescom along with Horizon. Plat, bye-bye.
See ya.
The Explosion Network's premier media podcast, What Do You Want to Watch, is a fortnightly show hosted by Ashley Hobley that covers the biggest stories in movies, TV, online media, and more before asking, what do we end up watching? Each episode, we discuss one particular movie or show that you can join in the discussion with by tweeting us, emailing, or posting on our Discord. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts or other podcasting services, or find the show at explosionnetwork.com. Most of the time, it's one of those things that if you listen back to the episode, you could be like, oh, that's where you cut it. But then because people have no idea, it'll sound really obvious that it's cut to you and me.
Yeah.
But then everyone else is just like, "Boop, that's fine."
Yeah, I'll be pretty curious to see how it all plays out.